Jr. was born in Omaha, Nebraska on July 14, 1913. His name at birth was Leslie Lynch King Jr. after his biological father. His mother met King in college and mistaked him to be a charming young fellow, except when he threatened to kill her when they had their son. She divorced him, and they moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan. She then married Gerald Ford, a successful paint salesman who adopted her young son. Ford recalled in his memoirs that he learned about his biological father at the age of 12 and only met the man a couple of times. In his high school days, all the girls loved Gerald Ford, not only because he was athletic and because he was charming, but he was a high school football star in Grand Rapids High School. Ford attended the University of Michigan on an athletic scholarship due to his athletic ability. After earning a degree in economics in 1935, he later went on to study law at Yale University. However, shortly after he graduated from law school in 1941, America entered World War II. Ford enlisted in the U.S. Navy and served aboard an aircraft carrier. Once Ford left college, he launched his career in politics in 1948 when he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. He served in the House for the next 25 years, earning a reputation as a friendly, honest, loyal, and hard-working Republican. In 1964, he served on the Warren Commission that investigated the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The following year, Ford became House Minority Leader. In 1948, he married Elizabeth, also known as Betty Bloomer Warren, who was a former professional dancer and department store fashion coordinator. They had 4 children named Michael, John, Stephen, and Susan.
Ford was appointed as Nixon's vice president after Spiro T. Agnew resigned from office in October 1973 due to unrelated charges of accepting bribes and evading taxes. 1 year later, Nixon would resign, making Ford the first unelected president in history. President Ford took office with the support of much of the American public, but had many difficulties as he faced a heavily populated Democratic Congress. When Ford was sworn into office, he focused on establishing his policies to curb inflation and stimulate the economy. However, it would become more difficult as his public support would soon decline after he'd pardoned Nixon of all his crimes. Despite all that hard work, the economy finally improved in 1976. In foreign affairs, Ford acted vigorously to maintain U.S. power and prestige after the collapse of Cambodia and South Vietnam. Preventing a new war in the Middle East remained a major objective. By providing aid to both Israel and Egypt, the Ford administration helped persuade the two countries to accept the truce agreement. Military peace between the Soviet Union continued. President Ford and the Soviet leader Leonid I Brezhnev set new limitations upon nuclear weapons. Ford, after all, was a special case. He created temporary peace with nations that used to harbor great enmity towards the U.S. Not only was he the only president to not be elected under the 25th Amendment, but also the first one to pardon a former one. He was also the first president to visit Japan and the first to make his medical records public. Ford was the only president whose 2 assassins were women, and it was common for him to be locked out of the White House when walking the dog or falling downstairs in public, and was known to be one of the most athletic presidents in our history. Although Ford lost to Jimmy Carter in 1976, he remained active in his retirement. He gave speeches, served on the boards of major corporations, and indulged his passions for golf and downhill skiing. He and his wife, who battled alcoholism at a time when the disease was not publicly discussed, also opened the Betty Ford Clinic in California to support research, treatment, and rehab for alcohol addiction. In 1999, he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, America's highest civilian honor. The importance in Ford's presidency was clear to Jimmy Carter, his Democratic successor.
Myself and for our nation, I want to thank my predecessor for all he has done